and welcome to the Humanity as Organism Thrives Convergence Room here on Peace Week 2022. This is an Akashic Records reading that I'm going to do today. I have been doing a reading every day based on the core need for that day, and these 7 core needs are so amazing. The 7 core needs that Shelley Ostroff and Jan Golding have created and brought to life. So today's core need is comfortable shelter. And I'm going to do a reading based on that for the collective here in our convergence room, and also the greater collective, all of us in Peace Week, and those giving and receiving and supporting the gifts of peace in our global family. So just send that energy, all of us just being with peace and everything that it implies and everything that it contains. The word peace contains so many seeds. So I will start with the reading, and I will open the records. Just send your wonderful co-creative energy. And if you're listening to this on the replay, then just send your energy too. And just take a few deep breaths with me. The records are now open. And I'll just see what messages come. And they're saying that shelter, comfortable shelter, any shelter that we build, the physical shelters that we build are not just sticks or, planks or bricks or whatever. They are infused with life. Our life is breathed into them. And they're saying very much like we cannot just call the bones of our bodies. We can't just call them bone with a chemical composition or anything like that. They're not just that physically. They're what co-create with our consciousness, our bones, our cells, our blood vessels, all of that houses our whole beings and co-creates with our consciousness. In the same way, our shelters do that for us individually and for us collectively. That the bricks, the wood, the materials that build our home receive our words, they receive our thoughts, they receive our actions. whether those actions are inspired or whether those are reactions, whether they're from the heart, from the deepest truth of our being, or whether they're from ego, they receive it. And as we infuse our shelters with what we say, what we think, the words we use, we are receiving that back. There's a rebounding reaction. There is a almost what we put out, we receive back. Give me a minute. And they're saying that we have the opportunity and the capacity to put who we are into those bricks, into those nails, into every basic screw, every basic coat of paint, and everything about the shelter, the home, that we are able to put who we are, our deepest truth, our souls, we can put that energy into it, and we can recreate the space. We can uncreate any space which was not infused with our energy, and just be able to connect. It's not about anything being physically alive. Any recipient of our energy becomes alive because we make it alive. When we look at it in a certain way, and when we see it in a certain way, we've made it alive in one way. If you look at a wall and you see it as the beginning of a mural, or you see it as the beginning of where you're going to put a door, which houses another opportunity, or maybe it's part of some creativity within you, and it houses your art space or your writing space, or it's the beginning of your garden. Now that is making it come alive in some sense, and in the same way, we can create it differently by just looking at it and saying, this is a wall, it has cracks, it needs paint, and looking at everything that limits us. So it's not that any material thing is just alive by its nature. It becomes alive by our nature and what we put into it. And just give me a minute. And they're saying that by creating, knowing that we have the capacity to create this with our shelters, almost co-creating, because of the life we breathe into them, we also have that capacity to co-create. There can be, our shelters are the symbols of joining hands if we allow them to be. They're the symbols of invitation of life, invitation of collaboration, invitation of just flow, the peaceful flow of what can happen when one idea touches the next, blends in, and they both touch the next idea together. And that's the symbol of what we co-create through shelters, whether they're community-oriented, whether they're just spaces we invite others to, whether they're gardens. And even gardens are shelters. They're shelters for our plants. They're shelters for our trees. They're extended shelters for us because they house food. They house that part of us where we get to literally plow into our gardens, and they house the seeds that we sow. A lot of times they house our children's laughter. And they're saying that knowing that power, knowing the power of creation and co-creation that we have, we may allow that life to be breathed into our collective space. And even collective spaces that aren't shelters can become potential shelters, because when we send out that energy, then we tend to breathe that energy into potential. We tend to create possibilities. And on that ground that we have breathed that possibility into, and we have co-created that possibility, shelters tend to spring up. And the message also comes that, don't we see that with the structures we've created, with governments, with other organizational structures, some red tape oriented, some not, that in certain places we're able to create shelters and shelters for our beings, shelters, physical shelters. We're able to create them so quickly that everything just springs into inspired action, and these shelters are created so quickly and so filled with potential, and they really work. And then in other cases, the plans and everything is in place, the funding may be in place, but shelters just do not spring up. And when they do, there are challenges. And the message that I'm getting here is that it's because of the energy we infuse into the creation of these shelters, the physical shelters, the possibilities, the ground on which our shelters are built, and that it is up to us to create and to co-create the potential of the ground into a shelter, the potential of a shelter into something in which we can create, co-create, and live our deepest truths, into something that houses everyone's vulnerability, everyone's potential, everyone's deepest dreams, and that we have the ability to do that. So I'd say, to round off the message, we're getting a message that, and especially I can see a lot of new people have joined us, and because of the time, we're going to run until 10:55. But let me round off this message. So the message that I've just received is that we infuse life into whatever shelters there are, into every element of the shelter, the physical shelter, whether it's the paint, whether it's the nails, the screws, the homes, the community buildings. We are able to infuse possibility into it because of our own energy. We're able to infuse possibility and potential into the ground on which the shelters are built. We have the choice, we have the opportunity and the capacity to infuse energy from the ego or from deepest truth and from source. We're able to infuse energy into what those shelters will do, how they'll spring up, how they're used, and how we're able to co-create what happens in those shelters, because they're a symbol of the energy that we send out and who we are physically. Who we are spiritually, what we've connected with. And there are times we connect with ego, there are times we connect with ourselves. We can uncreate any energy that has been infused with ego, and we can create any energy that is infused with deepest truth, with source energy, God within, heart center, whatever you want to call that. And that is the message that I'm getting about comfortable shelter. And if you've just joined us, you'll be able to listen to the recording of this message soon on our Trello board and listen to the full message. Are there any questions? I invite you to just submit them in the chat or to raise your hand, and I'll be able to respond. And the questions are not for any individual, they're for our collective, the collective in this convergence room and the greater collective celebrating Peace Week and supporting peace, giving and receiving the gifts of peace in our world. So if you have a general question, then please type it in. I'll just give it a few seconds for that. Okay. Okay, Tom, I see your hand up, and then we'll get to you, Linda. Okay.
Thank you so much. The uncreating, can that be likened to addictions?
Okay. Do you want to say more about that, or is that just the question?
I got a sense of the immediacy with which you said we can uncreate as quickly as we can create, something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Okay. And a lot of the things that we have been addicted to that we think are both social institutions and habits and et cetera, sometimes we strategize, right? How to kind of get out of the tangled web we wove. And is that necessary?
Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, what they're saying is that our 3D brains in this world, we think we have to untangle ourselves from a web or go back to the place of origin and start again, or just be able to be able to solve something in some way. And they're saying there is nothing to be solved. All it is about is what energy are you coming from in this moment. It doesn't matter. Uncreating, what they're saying is it doesn't matter that the energy that you've come from previously, you can flip it. You can change in this moment and just get to a slightly higher vibration. If you were feeling grumpy and you got yourself into a higher vibration, to a space of gratitude, not extreme gratitude, but just a little bit more gratitude, immediately you're infusing everything and everyone around you, sending the energy out that is a bit better. So therefore, you are uncreating the energy that you've sent out because you've shifted the energy. The energy, and they're saying it's just like the scientific energy is not created or destroyed. It's just transformed from one form to another. That being the case, the energy that you previously sent out is not still there or gone. You can shift it. You just transform it. You're interacting with it until it's on a high vibration. And then that constitutes the uncreating. So with any, as the word addiction or anything like that is just not interacting with the same energy repeatedly over and over again to get a certain feeling. So you're uncreating the energy by shifting it and getting a slightly different feeling, like a different facet of a gemstone. When you just shift the gemstone in your hand and the light hits it at a different angle, and you're just shifting it, and that does constitute the uncreating. Hope I've answered your question. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome. Linda.
Oh, good morning. I'm sorry,
No.
I think I was a little bit late. I'm a little bit confused about the timing and actually how to enter all of these things. Every once in a while, it doesn't work for me. Anyway, yes, I will like to go back to the recording. So I'm unfolding something here.
Mhm.
So I am an artist, and I have created a series a number of years ago, a series asking myself, is it as I'm set up with my painting, my watercolors, my paper, my brushes, and then I just empty myself out and ask myself, is it coming into form or is it dissolving? And then I move into the process. And again, it's I'm connected with this. This is not the separate ego of Linda. This is something that's in process together in the moment. And what I learned through those 80 paintings that I did, asking that question, is that it's always coming into form and it's always dissolving. It's always beautiful. And it's the process, it's the movement of these energies meshing or merging together that it's sort of hand in hand, or it's a coming together of something that isn't hierarchical, something that is working together or collaborating together. In that sense, it was everything. I was collaborating with the paints and the water and the whatever. And so to move back into this idea of shelter, there's something, I'm trying to put my head around something that's coming through that this example has something to do with shelter. It has to do with where we are in our human evolution right now, as we're opening up our awareness. It's where, and I think the particular focus of today, it's sort of emerging in me that it's like our earth is our shelter, and that we're merging together with that. And it's a struggle because we've been because our humanness has not been at an evolutionary level to be able to comprehend the bigger picture, that we are this merging, like my paintings, like I described as a painting. It's more like we're
Linda,
yeah.
sorry, may I get a sense of what you're saying. I'll just interject quickly, just because of the time, for no other reason. But I get that you're talking about the whole co-creation and the earth being our shelter. And that is so profound. And what I'm going to do is just see if I get any message about that. So I'm just going to take that part of the question, just in the interest of time. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, and the message that I'm getting is earth is love and love is shelter. And it's just, I get an image of this globe and these waves rippling in and out. And these waves are of love, and it's a collective love that we're getting here. And I'd like to go more into this but I'm not able to at this moment, just in the interest of time. But yes, I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for co-creating that.
And thank you for creating the space for that to arise.
You're welcome. Kurt, I know that you've asked a question in the chat and my chat gets saved. What I'm going to do is for tomorrow's reading, I am going to answer that question, whether you're on it or you're not able to, but the recording will be there. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. What a gem you are today. And I'd like to zoom peace to you, because this is sharing love to the world. Zoom peace. Put it over
Thank
your
you.
eyes like this, and that way you're looking at the world through love, and then the love just showers in the world because we zoom it out.
Wonderful. I am
Yeah.
going to close the records now, and thank you. And I will remember that question.
Thank you so much, my dear. Namaste.
Namaste.
Cheers.
The records are now closed. Thank you for joining us. And tomorrow at 10:30, I will do the last reading of the week.